Welcome to Reveiled,
revealing the unseen of weddings.
I'm Tracy.
And I'm Holly.
And we're here to pull back the veil on one of the most extravagant, emotional, and sometimes downright crazy industries out there.
Whether you're a bride or groom-to-be, a seasoned wedding professional, or just someone who loves a good story, you're in the right place.
Holly and I decided that we wanted to do this after spending numerous years in the wedding industry. I do hair, and Holly did both hair and makeup. And I'm pretty sure, Holly, like you've heard some pretty crazy things along the way.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
And so we thought it would be fun to share these with you.
Please disregard if you hear any background noise and stuff. We are not podcast professionals yet. So we are just doing this in Tracy's house right now.
There's dogs running around, humans walking around,
husbands clamoring.
I know for me, planning a wedding in Charleston as a local was just hard in so many ways. It's now become the wedding capital of America, and it has made it very hard for the normal person who just wants to have a nice wedding here to get married. I know I went through a lot of experiences that I was not expecting to go through. Did you have anything crazy happen with your wedding?
Yeah, so my husband Brian and I moved down from New Jersey in 2012 to South Carolina, and he was in the National Guard and found out he was getting deployed. So we had gotten engaged in Charleston like September of 2013, I think it was. And God forbid anything were to happen, we were like, let's just get married, like let's go to the courthouse and get married, and when you come back we will have like a proper wedding, quote unquote proper wedding. Like, you know,
the whole shebang.
We never did that, just FYI. But there was an ice storm the day after we went to the courthouse. So we went to the courthouse to get our marriage license and like to file, you know, the documents. And they were like, oh, well, you have to wait 24 hours to get your marriage license so you can get married after you get your marriage license. And we're like, okay. So the next day there was an ice storm, so we couldn't go get married.
Oh no.
Yeah. I worked at a blow-dry bar at the time, and my boss found out. It happened to be Valentine's Day, where I went back to work after this ice storm, and she was like, oh my God, you couldn't get married? Like, we'll do everything here. Like, we're not that busy today, and like, you can get married in the salon. So I told Brian, and he was like, okay. He's like, what do I wear? And I was like,
I love this so much.
He's like, what do I wear? And I was like, you can just wear like jeans and like a nice shirt, like, you know, whatever you want, really. So my boss was like, let's take you to the wedding dress place, like down the street, and like see if you can borrow a dress, and like we'll get you some flowers and I'll take pictures and it'll be great. And I wasn't expecting any of that. So she did. She took me to a wedding dress place down the street. Just happened to have a dress that fit me like absolutely perfectly. So they let us borrow it for the day. She got me flowers. She took my pictures. So when Brian arrived to the salon, and like one of the girls did my hair, and when Brian arrived to the salon, he's in jeans and a nice t-shirt, and he sees me in like an actual wedding dress coming down the aisle. He's like, oh shit, like what is happening? But you know, they played music. Like I walked down, like it was set up so there was like a little aisle in the salon, and I walked down, like they played music, and we got married, and he cried and I did not, and it was perfect, and we never did anything else.
Yours seemed to go pretty smoothly, except for the fiasco with the ice storm and not being able to get your wedding marriage license. I think it was really cool that they were able to, said company was able to provide you with a dress. And that is one thing, you know, this podcast was not meant to like bash any vendors or bash brides. Like, we're just trying to share experiences, and I think Holly got really lucky with having such a wonderful group of people around her on that
100%.
day that would to provide a dress. Like, this industry has grown. I know we all get frustrated with it. I know that we all get tired and run down, especially in peak wedding season. But the vendors here in Charleston have become a very close-knit community.
That's very
And
true.
I have made several wonderful relationships through this, and not just within my industry, with photographers, wedding planners.
I mean, that's how we met too.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that blow dry bar,
And
I feel like most of the girls I work with now, heavily in the bridal industry, all started there.
Yeah, like, I think I worked there at the blow dry bar about a year and a half, and like it was like right before you came, like before I moved to Texas.
That sounds about right. Because I've been here, it'll be 10 years this year. And you were here for a year and a half before you moved?
Yeah, 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, it's been so long. It's so long. So I was at your wedding.
Yes.
I know that you had some hiccups. It was
so many
beautiful.
hiccups.
But,
Thanks.
but knowing you, I know there were some hiccups.
There were definitely 100% hiccups. As I was saying before, it was very hard to plan a super beautiful wedding here in Charleston on a low budget, which I did not think was a low budget personally, but finding out what other people spend on weddings here, phew. You could buy a house or 2 cars. I don't know.
Go on 5 vacations.
Yes, 7 vacations. Right, exactly. I did have a lot of wonderful vendors who, when they found out I was in the industry, I think took pity on me or just appreciated somebody else that works in the industry.
Pros and cons.
Yes. But I do wish I had done some things differently. I did not have a wedding planner. I did a day of planner because I don't know why I thought that me, who is packing for a vacation an hour before the plane leaves, could plan a whole wedding by myself and not get stressed.
That's a lot.
It was. And I do say, if I changed one big thing about planning my wedding, I probably would have thought about at least getting a 3-month out planner that was making sure things. I got really excited. Anybody that knows me, something's happening, I get excited and I go all out, and then it just kind of falls off. So when Ika proposed to me in October, that November, I was on top of everything. I'm like, I gotta find a photographer, a DJ. And I noticed on the wedding pages that I'm on Facebook that a lot of the vendors were doing Black Friday sales and discounts, which I do recommend, but also learn my lesson. You gotta be careful. And there's a lot of reviews that I read for some of the vendors that I hired that I'm like, who even write these reviews? It could not be just me that this is happening to.
That's like when you buy a thing on the coupon sites,
yes,
the discounted things, and it's like, oh, this is not what I thought it was going to be.
Exactly. The DJ, for example, one of the reviews of his, I remember reading it, and it was a woman who wrote the review, and she said one of the best things was that her husband was not American and the name was extremely hard, and that this DJ really took the time to learn the name and say it right.
That's important.
He didn't even get my bridesmaid's American name right, so I don't know.
He's like, I got this.
Yeah, the DJ was rough, but also I only paid $600 for my DJ, which I think is crazy, but also I don't, because I understand it's this industry. I guess I just wasn't prepared for costs of everything.
Yeah.
And I think that really threw me off. So maybe people listening to this are going to be like, well, no wonder you had trouble with your DJ. You only paid $600.
Right.
I don't know, because I know from my area of the industry, if somebody's telling me they're getting their wedding day updo for $85, I'm going to be going, okay, well, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
So, no judgment on that, but DJ was a bit of a letdown. I made it clear that we were having a ceremony in an open field where there would obviously be no hookups for hiccups. We didn't have
Audio
hiccups.
hookups.
We had lots of hiccups.
Hiccups and hookups.
Our
next podcast.
Yes. So we were getting married in an open space, and the venue where we were, it was beautiful. You then left that open space and walked over a beautiful bridge into a conservatory style setup.
Super pretty.
It was really nice.
So pretty.
It was. But I think the DJ was one of the bigger sadnesses on my wedding day, because I had really put in a lot of time to like what songs everybody was walking down the aisle to. And we were there. I was there like an hour and a half before the wedding, because I did my hair and makeup here at my house, and you were there.
I was there.
And I used the getting ready space. It was a smaller getting ready space, so I really used it just to go get ready with my mom and my sister and my husband's sister, and then my other bridesmaid, who's a lifelong friend. And I used that space more just for us to get in our dresses and to like have some memory making right before. But I was there, and I felt really frustrated. I knew he was there. If he knew that he had no hookup, we literally have an JBL speaker the size of a cooler out in our garage that we could have had brought over to the venue that was 10 minutes from my house. So
yeah, and to be fair, to me, a DJ should have that stuff if he's a DJ, you know what I mean?
Well, yes, but maybe that's why he's only charging $600. Maybe he doesn't have the right equipment. I don't know.
No offense to this DJ.
No offense. No offense. And he was really nice. You know, I could have had worse experiences based on other things that happen, you know, that I've heard have happened. So I feel like that was just hard for me, just because of the time and thought that I put into it. Also, I think it was really hard for our flower groomsman, our flower guy. I had a flower man, which I definitely wouldn't have wanted to walk down the aisle throwing petals as a man without music. I mean, I feel like that had to have been horrifying for him. And I wasn't up there, but I know that multiple guests saw the panic on his face, and one of them even heard him say, "Where's my music?" So I did feel bad about that. I luckily had people walking me down the aisle. So, but if I didn't have somebody walking me down, I don't know if I would have walked down the aisle with no music playing. I mean, it was really weird, and I'm sure nobody else was really thinking about it. But you're already in your head so much that everybody's staring at you, and then you're like, okay, it's silent. Why is it silent? Yeah. So that was definitely
didn't it kick in like?
He was playing it on his phone. One
right.
side of the audience, like the side he was standing on, they could barely hear it.
That makes sense.
It was just bad. But the lead up to that, which my mom and I were actually laughing about it. She told me that her and my sister were laughing about it recently too. So the venue where I got married, the guy came to like pick us up in the golf cart, me, my mom, and my sister, like basically the women wearing heels, and drive us over to this site. So we get on this golf cart, and he was like, "Do you know where we go?" And I thought he was joking, you know. I'm like, "It's over at the ceremony site." First of all, this golf cart is backfiring. I mean, you could hear us coming from a mile away. I thought the whole golf cart was just gonna like break down. Like you just heard these gunshots firing from this golf cart. And he drove us right past my husband-to-be and the groomsmen. We passed them. I'm like ducking down, hiding, freaking out. Now my husband, like, he wasn't paying a bit of attention, so it was really fine. But he's driving us, and I realized that he really like has no idea where he's going. And then he tells me it's his third day working there, and he's driving us past these woods, and I realized that we're about to go in front of my entire ceremony, like not coming in the back way. So finally I'm yelling at him. I'm like, just stop. So I'm walking through the woods, just dragging sticks and twigs from this cathedral-length veil. The groomsmen that were still back there were laughing, like, where are you coming from? Like, I'm just like, I thought it'd be nice to take a hike through the woods on my wedding day. That's
exactly what you want to do.
Yeah, exactly. It was fun. A little hiccup, just another little hiccup. Nothing huge, but I mean, I still to this day laugh at that. And I try to tell my brides this, you know, especially the ones that I can tell are like freaking out or having anxiety. Like, it's your wedding day, something's going to go wrong.
Yeah.
But 9 out of 10, only you, your mom, the wedding planner, and God himself is going to know that it was not supposed to go this way. Like, people don't know what you had planned. Nobody else knew that I hiked through the woods on my wedding morning. Right. So things happen, you make the most of them. But there were definitely hiccups. A lot of funny stories, though, that came out of this wedding experience.
One of the... Whoops, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
One of the coolest things I thought you had at your wedding was the photo thing.
Oh, the photo booth. That didn't go as planned.
Really?
No!
I loved it. You got to print out your pictures. Like, you took pictures, you printed them out, and then you put them in a book and, like, signed it.
So, yeah, the photo booth. My whole thought behind that was I can get my wedding, what is it called? The wedding book that people sign?
Guest book.
Your guest book, yeah. So I was going to do a guest book and set the guest book up. And it was great. Like, I mean, we had so much fun. The pictures we got back were wonderful. But my whole intent with that was that we would get this guest book and set the guest book up by the photo booth. And I wanted each person to, I mean, and they could do it in couples or whatever, but get a photo, tape their photo. I specifically had it where it printed 2 copies. Yeah. So that they could keep a copy. And then they could put 1 copy in the guest book and sign it. But the guest book didn't end up with the day of planner being put over there. Oh. And then I was told later on that there was no tape with it, which, yes, that was my bad. But same thing, like, I feel like these are things like, okay, why wasn't I informed? Because same thing, my house is 10 minutes away, and everybody was there way beforehand. Yeah. But I will own it. I mean, I'm unorganized. Thank God for my friends and my family the day of. I mean, they were asking where everything that needed to go to the venue was the morning of, and I'm like, I don't know. There's some boxes in the guest room. I mean, my poor sister and my mom and my friends that morning were, like, running around here like chickens with their head cut off. So, I mean, I do take some responsibility in the madness of my wedding. A little bit, yeah. But it was nice. And then the venue, I booked it because it was like a conservatory style, and there were like ponds and walkways that lit up. I don't know if you remember this.
Yes, it was. We walked all the way around, like all around.
There were supposed to be lights, like lighting up the walkway.
Oh.
And the venue actually had to send people to try to get these lights to turn on, and then they were like, oh, they don't work. So, like, my guests trying to get back to the bathroom, like, you could barely see. Like, people were using dark. Their phones.
But I kind of liked that because I was like, this is very romantic. Intimate. And, like, yeah.
But it was still romantic with the little lights around the pots.
Right.
Same thing. My cake was placed under the heater. And yes, we're in Charleston, but I got married in November, so it was cooler outside. And my cake, by the end of it, even I was warm. And actually, we had a guest that kept telling them to close the doors because she was cold, but we were trying to, like, let some cooler air in. But also, we were trying to do that because as I was sitting at our table at the front, I was watching my cake slowly, like, melt. Yeah, the cake.
That's so sad.
So our cake was lopsided, but the photographer
was delicious.
Yeah, and the photographer worked with that moment in the picture taking of the cake cutting, and all of my pictures are angled so that the cake looks straight, and we just look angled. Very artsy.
Love that.
Very artsy photos.
So. See, and that's why you need good vendors.
Exactly. I did. I had really great. My florist, we're not allowed to name drop, but my florist, he was phenomenal. I mean, my florist was definitely my favorite of all of it. And I think he knows who he is if he's listening to this. So. But at the florals, where everything really was, like I said, little things that happen, but you're so caught up in that moment. Like, the lights irritated me because I felt like I wanted people to be able to see to get to the bathroom. And the DJ, I came flying out of the bathroom at one moment because I don't know what guest requested it. I don't even know what song it was, but it was like I was coming out of the bathroom and I just hear blaring like, F this, F that. And I'm like, absolutely not.
We will not take guest requests.
Do you remember when he played, what he announced, he was like, I'm going to play like the #1 wedding song. So I got like really excited and like grabbed Ika and I'm heading to the floor. And all of a sudden I hear Lips of an Angel playing.
No.
Do you remember that?
I don't.
Oh, I was horrified. I was like, is he playing? He's not. And I'm like, he's literally playing a song about cheating. And it was this DJ. I don't know.
Was that supposed to be sarcasm? But even so, like, you don't, like,
Yeah,
a DJ at a wedding should not be practicing
why?
sarcasm.
Why that song? Anyway, he is not local. I can't give information, but he is not local, so I don't think if you're booking that you have to
worry
be too worried. He did send me a follow-up email asking me for a tip.
Oh. I don't know about that. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Here's a tip. Don't play Lips of an Angel.
Right. Exactly.
Like you think you hear like I'm gonna play the #1 wedding song. You think of like Sweet Caroline, or like something like that,
or even something romantic. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
Beautiful day.
Like right? Yeah, I don't even know. Or classic. Yeah, like definitely wasn't expecting. Yeah, that threw me off. Really, it did. But it was good. My wedding was really good. If anybody ever needs tips on planning a wedding, don't ever go with my DJ suggestions. But my wedding dress, I got at a consignment shop.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and well, now they do. If they know me and they're listening to this, now they do. But nobody knew, and I got
nobody has to know.
No, and honestly, I think even after alterations, I think it total ended up being about $600. But when I looked up the design, it was an $1,800 dress.
That's amazing. Their stores are amazing.
Worn once.
Consignment stores are amazing.
I did have to prep my mother for that one. I went up to Maryland to find it, and I didn't tell. I told her we were going to look for dresses, but I did not tell her until like we were getting ready to get in the car to go. And I said, Mom, look, I got to tell you something. This dress shop we're going to is a consignment dress shop. So if you can't keep it together without making comments, she's like, are you kidding me? It's your wedding dress. You're going to wear somebody else's wedding dress. And I was like, oh my God. I was dreading how it was going to go. It was my mother and my sister and I. And my mom, when I came out, was like, oh my gosh, this is the dress. You know,
that's awesome.
Like, I think she might have shocked herself too, but I did have to prep her, mainly because the tasting, we were talking about using disposables, and the look on my mother's face was completely horrified, and I had to pause the woman doing the tasting with us. I'm like, Mom, are you okay? She was like, you're getting married at this beautiful plantation and gardens, and you're going to use disposable plates? I'm like, Mom, it's not like Dixie cups. Like, they've come a long way.
Yeah, they look like real.
Yeah, and honestly, I didn't even care if they look real in real life as long as the photos. They did. They were beautiful.
Yeah.
I know it was my wedding, so maybe I'm biased, but I felt like it was absolutely beautiful in there.
I agree.
So I don't know, but it was. I think I sent my mom into shell shock several times along the planning route. But it all worked out well, and I think she thought everything was beautiful as well too. So
that's awesome. I love that. It's definitely like a pick and choose of, especially when you're like trying to plan on a budget. I mean, the majority of us are on budgets. Like, let's be real. Like, whether that's a small budget, a big budget, like whatever. A good vendor is like so worth it because, and I'm not trying to bash your person that didn't bring tape and like your DJ, but like
that's the things that they will be on top of.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, like
yes, I agree.
Most of the planners and photographers and photo booth people and DJs in Charleston, in the bridal industry in Charleston, are like on top of it, and
right,
like because otherwise you're not going to succeed.
And it's whether you're seasoned or not, and you can. I don't want to digress away from it. When I was talking about the sales with Black Friday sales, my photographer, she was a steal, and she took beautiful photos. She listened to what I was saying. My husband is like 6'7" and I'm 5'4" on a good day, So when we got our engagement shots done by somebody else, it was really horrible. Like some of the really cutesy shots just don't work. You know, when they're like, kiss her on the forehead. I'm like, well, he's a foot and a half taller than
he's
me.
Completely
so,
bent over.
Yeah, it was, yeah. But she listened to what I was saying, and she was an experienced photographer, but she was switching from like family style to wedding.
Oh.
So she felt like she needed to be charging a little less because she didn't have the portfolio of the wedding side of it. So like you can find really good, talented, I don't want to deter people from doing the Black Friday things, because
100%.
the photographer worked out beautifully. My videographer worked out beautifully to get the Black Friday sales. But I do feel like sometimes when you are being choosier on what you're willing to pay, that is when you get corners cut and, you know.
It's hard too because like even with reviews, like a lot of the reviews are fake, which really is not nice. Instagram, I mean, like any kind of social media.
Friends and family be like, hey, can you like review this for me?
Which,
and of course, they're my friends
probably
and family.
We probably will.
I mean, but it's so easy to. You never know what you're getting.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody can lie. My goodness.
Yeah.
Times people have been like, hey, I'm doing Rover. Can you just leave me a good review?
Right.
Sure. Do you even have a pet? But yeah. Like,
right.
You know, like, I just, it's really hard. It's easy to get bamboozled in this industry, just like any other industry.
Yeah. And hopefully we can give you tips to, like, try to avoid some of that.
Yes.
Because that is...
You definitely get what you pay for. I worked a wedding. This is kind of off top. Well, not really, but kind of. It's not about my wedding. I worked a wedding, and it was the girl and I still talk. I still reference her wedding, that if I could get through her wedding, like I can get through any wedding. It was at a venue down here. Somebody else had trialed her, and she wasn't really happy with the trial, and I did her trial. She loved it. We clicked. We meshed well. I did her hair the day before for her rehearsal hair, and the day of her wedding, I was on my second person, and I think there were maybe 5 bridesmaids in her, or 4 bridesmaids and a mom. I can't remember the exact count, but I was only on my second person, and I did something I've never in the almost 20 years of doing hair done in my life. I grabbed my curling iron full fist by the rod and burned my entire palm and fingers. I had to call.
I can't drop this on the bride.
Yeah.
I cannot do this.
I had to call the company that I was working for and tell them that I could not do the trial that I had scheduled for after this wedding. But I finished her wedding. I worked through all of them. And the same wedding, we went to put her halo extensions in, which we had used the day before. We used them on the trial. And the string, some of our listeners probably don't know what halo extensions are, but the string that holds them, it's like a weft of hair, and there's a clear band. The clear band broke.
No.
So I had a sewing kit in my... I don't know if it was in my purse. I don't think it was in my kit, but now for that reason I keep a sewing kit in my purse. And we were sewing her halo extensions back together with a burnt hand. It was definitely... I think she appreciated that, though, you know, and that's what you get what you pay for. I could have easily been like, girl, I got second-degree burns all over my hand. I need to go to the hospital. But I would never... It takes a lot for me to bail on a bride. I've worked with pulled muscles. I think a wedding day is really important.
Tracy got her appendix out and still like came
gallbladder.
Yeah. One of those organs.
It takes a lot because I feel like there's already so many stresses, but I think that's why I take it to heart. Like when you do have some crummy brides, you're like, man, I really put so much love and effort into this, and then you just still stumble across those people that you're just like, you're never going to make happy.
Yeah. Yes.
It gets disheartening, and we're going to talk about that all throughout this podcast. So
yeah, like the one we were talking about one earlier that we don't want to go into in depth right now, but there's a popular video, like a viral video on social media about one vendor doing something and then the bride not being happy and saying she's going to make a TikTok about it, and like it's a big thing in the industry, and like that's just one so avoidable, and like it really stinks seeing people that are so talented be broken like that. And
I think what people need to realize too is we're humans. Like we all have off days. Obviously we don't want that to happen. I had a bride who the fellow artist on the bride was having some family trauma, like with immediate family and was going through a really rough time, loss. And the bride was, well, what do you mean she's not going to be here? Like, I don't understand sometimes with people. We're not robots. We have families. We have things that happen. We get sick. We try as best we can to be there when we need to be, but things do happen.
Yeah. There's definitely, my husband was in the hospital, and I was a hair and makeup artist.
I worked that for you.
Yeah, and Tracy worked there for me. And I was like in a panic. I was like, I'm not going to leave my husband. Like, I know as much as I want to be there for the bride, I have to, choose my own family first. And I'm not going to leave my husband. And luckily, Tracy was able to go and do it. And honestly, like, her hair looked better than when I did it at the trial. Yes, I will own that. Yes, it absolutely looked better. I was like, this worked out. And, like, I feel bad for the bride, but I think it worked out how it should have worked out.
Yeah, I think I want this podcast to kind of be an eye-opener for both sides, for vendors and for brides. We don't always give people grace. And, I'm sitting here talking about my photographer. Not my photographer, she was great. My DJ, maybe he was having a bad day.
Right, yeah.
I don't think that was the case, though, because things happened a week or two before that were very off-putting. And it was kind of like, well, I have to use him now because I don't have another choice. There were definitely signs that I guess I should have seen, but I do think that, everybody gets so sucked in, especially when it's their day, to it's my day, and I don't think they realize everything that other people go through, every backstory that people have. And I think we all just need to be remembering to be a little kind and understanding.
100%, yes.
And I feel like that gets lost sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like, this is kind of, like, on topic but kind of off topic, but, like, as a vendor, I think it's important that we remember to have, like, some kind of backup. So, like, if I can't get to a wedding, and, like, making sure that there's somebody that is available that could get to the wedding if, God forbid, I can't make it. Like,
backups upon backups. I warn my brides that want their hair down, and I think sometimes I get labeled as, like, somebody referred to it, I can come on a little strong. That wasn't the word, but I can come on a little strong, but I'm going to be honest with somebody because I would want somebody to be honest with me. And I think sometimes people don't really like that. But I'm not the person that is going to say, oh, your wedding's going to be perfect and beautiful. I'm the person that, if you're getting married here in October, I'm going to tell you that if you want your hair down, that you should, yes, we can do it down, but you should have an updo style in the back of your mind that if something happens, you're okay with having your hair put up.
Yeah.
Whether it be a hurricane coming through. Yes, I've done weddings during tropical storms here. It takes a lot to close things down. This is a big day. You're not just going to reschedule it. So even if there's rain, you're going to continue to have it. And you need to have backup plans. Rain, some days it's humid here. And there's sometimes where I can do the style for you and it's going to look beautiful. And even with the extension, when you walk out that door in July with a down style in 100% humidity and 90-degree weather, it feels like temp of 115, your hair's not going to last. So I always tell, and I always tell my brides to have a backup. And I guess I could sugarcoat it, but I'm going to tell them there's a chance you're going to have a flood down here on your wedding. There's a chance that you're going to have storms. And I tell them that because I had a bride. It was an April wedding and it torrentially downpoured the entire weekend of her wedding weekend. And I watched her panic all morning.
That's so sad. Struggling
just to find like a hairdo. So now, because of that, I'd rather say, hey, prepare.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's plan on doing the down style, but I think you need to have
set the mindset.
Some type of style that you would be okay with if you had to go up.
100%.
Also, don't you want to get your money's worth?
Yeah, so, like, that's, like... yes, yeah. My husband and I own a vintage car, and we rent it out. He chauffeurs it for a wedding, and...
It's super cute.
It is super cute. It does not have air conditioning, so, like,
Yeah.
So, it's a Thunderbird, and she does not have air conditioning. I'm like, we provide you fans. Like, in the summertime, it is going to be hot. Like, the windows will be down, And like being a hairdresser, I'm like, I warn the brides, I'm like, if the windows are going to be down, you don't want them up. If you have your hair down, you're going to want some kind of protection like around you, like to keep your like hair in place. Yeah, like you see in like the vintage like photos, like the hair scarves, you know, like just tell like your stylist that this is what's happening. All of our brides have been great with it. All of our grooms have been great with it. My husband sweats his ass off, but like, but you know, we'll do it for the brides and the grooms, and whoever else.
It's things people don't think about, I think. And obviously, we all want that perfect day. It to be 70 degrees and a light breeze blowing through the air, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah. So some things we could learn from this episode.
Oh God, so many things to learn.
So the first one I would say is look for deals on vendors, like your Black Friday sales, and like different percentages off. However, make sure you do your research on your vendors.
All the research.
And even if they're recommended by like your planner or like your photographer, your hairstylist, like whoever, like make sure you do your research, like go to their social media, go to, you said their tags.
Yes, so tags are really important because you're not just, and I do it too, you know, doing hair, like obviously I'm going to take 50 photos and then pick the best photo that shows the most. I mean, let's be honest. We're
because
being honest here. That's what this podcast is. Yeah. So I'm going to find the best photo. But I would definitely say go to things that your vendors are tagged in because you're seeing photos of their work then that they didn't take. That it's not just the best photo in their camera roll. Some not great people here. As much as we love a lot of the vendors here, you do have your few scattered out there that are not honest and don't really seem to care, but be careful. Just because they have a good review, that does not mean everything.
Yes, 100%.
Holly, I think you learned firsthand to make sure you've got all your documents in order.
Yes, yeah. Don't assume that you can just go to the courthouse and get married, because in South Carolina you definitely cannot. And apparently they only do it on like Wednesday through Fridays too. Like, but just make sure like wherever you're getting married, you look up, like, say you live in New Jersey, because I'm just using this as an example because I'm from New Jersey. So, like, if you're from New Jersey and you're getting married in South Carolina and you're not familiar with what you need to do, like, make sure you have that in order before your wedding and not the day of your wedding, because you might not be able to get married.
Good advice. Good advice. And then I think having a wedding day emergency kit.
Yeah, like with your tape.
We can put something together here. Even now, if I was getting married again, I think I would have a speaker in my car for, even just a little handheld, because that's still better than a phone speaker.
Yeah.
But definitely emergency kits. I know that you can find them other places, but we will put together a little emergency kit of things that we've learned along the way.
Yeah.
Especially, we're the first people in on wedding mornings as hair and makeup. So we see like really all the things when people are like, oh my gosh, does anybody have scissors? Does anybody have a sewing kit? I need a Band-Aid. A stain stick. Does anybody have tape? Body tape. Tampons. Yes. So we will put together a whole little emergency kit if you're interested in it.
Heel stoppers.
Heel stoppers, yes.
Yeah.
My husband's from Germany, and he laughs because he says Americans just cut people off all the time when they're talking. I'm like, I don't even think it's an American thing.
I think I
definitely think it's neurodivergency.
Yeah. That's another podcast.
Yeah, a whole nother podcast. But I think that's going to wrap it up for today. I've got a dog that wants to bark and
tiptoe.
Yeah.
Little tiptoes.
A mom in town.
Make sure, he's like,
there
yes. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and TikTok, and those are the only socials we have right now. Eventually we will have other ones, but we're Reveiled, like REVEILED _wedding pod. Wedding _ pod on all social media platforms. And we will have your wedding day emergency kit posted on there so you can make your own little emergency kit.
Yes, and please, if you have stories, tell us. We want them. You can submit them on our website, and everything stays anonymous. but we want to hear, and we want to hear from everybody. Brides,
Tell us your
grooms,
juicy
bridal
secrets.
party, vendors, anything you want to share, please do. Because I know I love hearing some of the stories I have. There's so many stories that we have not even touched upon.
Yes.
And I love hearing other people's tales from behind the veil.
From behind the veil, what are you gonna share?
All right, guys. Thank you for listening. If you're still here.
Thank you. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, perfect.
This has been a Trolley Productions.